If the Star Wars films have a recurring theme, it's the fight for freedom against tyranny. The first Star Wars film, A New Hope, opens in the vacuum of space with a gigantic, overblown behemoth firing on a tiny, comparatively defenseless ship. It's a visual that instantly tells us about the power disparity in the film. The Empire is big and evil. The Rebels are small and good. We don't know specifically what grievances the Rebel Alliance has with the Galactic Empire at the beginning of the film, though. Princess Leia does not go into any detail about laws that the Empire may have passed that created the rebellion, or actions the Empire performed that were so heinous that they jump-started violent resistance. Later, of course, we learn that the Empire has secretly created a battle-ready space station that destroys planets, but in the original trilogy, we don't know what started it, what their politics are, and frankly, it is not important to enjoying the story. The rebels wear the white hats, the Empire wears the black hats, and this good and evil fairy tale can continue without anyone questioning it. It's a great trilogy of films, and we don't have to be bogged down by the minutiae of galactic politics. We just know the theme: fight against tyranny. That's it. Although the prequel trilogy introduces heavy politics into the fray, it still maintains the commonality of fighting for individual freedom. In the prequels, we learn what Darth Vader's motivations are and why others would find it so offensive, but the basics of the battle remain the same. With this in mind, it is of some hypocrisy that the main theme of Star Wars, tyranny and oppression versus the rule of the people and liberty, is dashed when one considers how nearly all characters in Star Wars, including the Rebels, treat the droids as slaves. This requires some explanation. In the first Star Wars film, droids are not seen as much more than scrap metal. Early in the movie, when it looks like an escape pod is empty because it shows no life signs, C-3PO and R2-D2 are actually inside, but this never even occurs to the Imperial soldier. Droids are not seen as threats. They are entirely subservient to humans and other biological species in the Star Wars universe. They are quickly captured by the Jawas, who instantly claim them as their property against the droids' wills. Now, some might suggest that this is just what the Jawas do. This is part of their backwards culture. They appear to be poor, and in desperate times, people do desperate things. However, minutes later, we see humans, namely Luke Skywalker and his Uncle Owen, purchase C-3PO and R2-D2 as property. They even want another droid, but it is malfunctioning. They don't think twice about it either. They want droids to do the chores for no money. Later, when C-3PO, easily the most polite and well-mannered character in the entire film, introduces both himself and his friend to Luke, our young hero barely acknowledges them and seems, at best, sarcastic about introducing himself to non-biological life forms. Worse still, C-3PO, the droid we can actually understand, refers to humans as their masters. C-3PO is not only a slave, but he is also both accustomed to it and accepts it as part of his life. He may or may not be happy about it, but he has been conditioned, that is, programmed, never to question it. R2-D2 is a different story. He does what he thinks is right, regardless of his programming. Luke even remarks that he has never seen that much determination in a droid before, giving us the impression that he is surprised that a droid can have emotions. Of course, we know that droids do have feelings. It's difficult to get a read on R2-D2 due to the audience's inability to hear what he is saying or read facial expressions, but C-3PO's ability to communicate does confirm that droids have emotions. We see him terribly worried when Luke, Han, and Leia go missing and are in danger. We also see him horribly distraught when he mistakenly believes that they are all dead. What's more, he even feels guilt over his supposed incompetence, lamenting that he was not quick enough to save them. With this in mind, and taking into consideration his impressive level of intelligence, C-3PO is most definitely a sentient being. If he were in the Star Trek universe, Captain Picard would be arguing for his legal status. But alas, he is in the Star Wars universe, and he is relegated to that of a slave with no control over his own destiny. Sentience, yes. A life of his own, no. He is considered property. To confuse this moral issue even further, there is a great deal of inconsistency when it comes to the manner in which droids are addressed and treated throughout the Star Wars films, as if the writers could not agree on their status, or the idea of their enslavement changed over time. Many years after the release of the original Star Wars trilogy, audiences were given Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. In the middle of the film, a younger R2-D2 helps save his comrades. He's a hero, brave, sturdy, a real good guy. So much, in fact, that a soldier and Queen Amidala's proxy commend R2-D2. In this instance, R2-D2 and droids in general do not seem like slaves at all. They do not seem like they are regarded as inferior beings. Rather, they are treated like people. Artificial intelligences with their own personalities, hopes, dreams, ambitions, and unique qualities. There is a discrepancy here. R2-D2 is honored for his service in the prequel trilogy, but in the original movie, when it is time to hand out medals, he gets absolutely nothing, even though he nearly gave his life in the assault on the Death Star. It's possible that George Lucas simply changed his mind about how droids should be viewed in the Star Wars universe, maybe due to their popularity as action figures and the characters that children like the most. Or maybe because he, too, saw that he basically set them up as slaves to be bought and sold in the original trilogy. Something to keep in mind here. Lucas was heavily influenced by the Akira Kurosawa film, The Hidden Fortress, especially as it pertains to the droids. The Hidden Fortress is a grand adventure film, told from the perspective of two peasants. So obviously, Lucas had an affection for them. He wanted his own lowly characters. He may just not have thought out the ramifications. Although, R2-D2 and C-3PO are not meant to be minor characters. They appear before any other major characters in the film. Luke Skywalker does not even appear until 16 minutes into the action. Han Solo doesn't show his face until the 45-minute mark. R2 and 3PO are with us the whole way. Not to mention they are among the few characters to be featured prominently in both trilogies, so their legal status and recognition as real people are not things to be taken lightly. Anyway, to complicate this even more, in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, another human being orders C-3PO's memory to be completely wiped. Taking into consideration that droids are definitely sentient beings, this is horrible. Imagine someone grabbing a human, forcibly giving them some kind of lobotomy, and being told that this is perfectly legal and moral. It's a disgrace, but it did happen in the prequel trilogy. It was even played up for comedy. Remember, this happened only 2 movies after droids were shown to be worth awarding. It's unclear if this will ever be addressed. The Star Wars property was recently purchased by Disney. More films are on the way, and the next film takes place after the fall of the Empire. Maybe we will finally get an answer to this question, but for now, all we can do is look at the evidence presented in the 6 films, and if we are being completely honest with ourselves, the droids' status as slaves to be bought and sold appears obvious.
Nice to see a familiar face.
Ichuta.
How rude.